So this is a charcoal canister for an OBS Ford, and for my truck I have two of these, and unfortunately they do not sell this style anymore. The newer ones come with some valves that you could probably block off, but these things run about $200 a piece, and you need two of them, and I'm going to show you how to do it for a fraction of the cost. So bear with me as I cut this thing open. What you're going to need: nice sharp blade, and this piece is essentially a cap that they glue together to this portion here. I'm going to go ahead and cut that off, and I'm just going to do it very gently, just run around the edge. Already feel it separating. You might have to go around again in case you miss a spot. I don't have that vise on too tight because I don't want to crack the plastic, but that should be good. I'm just going to run this in here, kind of help it come up. Okay. Now before I take this off, I've already taken these apart. So this glue that you're seeing is silicone gasket that I've used to reassemble this. And it lasted about a year, but unfortunately I've been smelling strong smells from these canisters. Took them apart. They're super easy to grab out of the truck and just smell them. But I've been having a oil issue where my truck is burning oil that I just solved. So hopefully these won't get all smelly again. So there we have this piece, and that's going to hold all the charcoal together. We have this piece. As you can see, I've already banged on it a few times about a year ago to get this off. I don't really have a great way of taking that off. I kind of beat the hell out of it until it does what I want. But what I do is I just take my hands. There's kind of I'll show you. There's this piece, which I have on the other line. Actually, I do not. Yes, here it is. There's that stem right there that's holding that blue piece on that I'm trying to wrestle off. And there's two tabs you could kind of mess around with. I haven't found a really great way of doing it, but you can always put it back together. I noticed just folding these in and clamping them together makes it easier. Just like that. Put that to the side. Gonna go ahead and grab this out. Probably be a little tricky. There we go. Come on out. There. There's that piece. Put that to the side. And this is just charcoal that I picked up from PetSmart. It's for fish tanks. But it's essentially the same material that's going to already be in here if you have the original canisters. And it smells awful. I don't know how to describe that smell. I think that's more of like a gas smell. So what I do is I'm just going to put it in here. And now I'm going to take out these little things down here. So you can see down in there, there's these little pads that I'm going to take out. And some pliers. And these are silicone glued in as well with the same material that I used for this. Again, same exact material from the pet store. Not the same material as this, but I got this stuff from a fish store. As you can see, there's the silicone that was holding it in. What I'm gonna do, it smells pretty bad too, is I'm gonna just take it out. It'll probably be a little bit of work. Actually, let's see how it comes out. And this is all custom work. I did this with just some basic supplies. Yeah, I can just tear it out by hand actually. And you're left with that. So I just cut these out by hand with a X-Acto knife. But essentially I'm just going to replace everything. And probably wash the material. I'll probably wash this out, make it smell good again. I'll wash all the plastic. And then I'm going to go ahead and refill it, put it back together, seal it, and then hopefully that'll last a bit longer. The last thing I want to point out is we're just going to, I'm not going to do the whole thing right now, but I got to remove my gasket material. And I'm just going to go around the blade and just clean it up. It doesn't need to be perfect because the gasket material that I use, which I believe it's that one actually, but the gasket material is going to make up for all the imperfections in the plastic and my little screw ups. So you get the idea. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the material, fill it up, clean it, and you'll see how that is done. This is the stuff that you're going to need to fix your charcoal canister. As you recall, we have to put some filters into here, and I just got some basic fish filter cartridge, and this is what it looks like when you purchase it. I just take an X-Acto knife, carve out this shape, and that's how I got this. I'm going to fill the canisters with activated charcoal. I got this from PetSmart. You can get it anywhere else. The issue I had was finding the consistency that I wanted. This is a type, it was more like a pellet, and this was what was originally inside the charcoal canisters, and I'm trying to keep that consistent, so that's why I went with this. This is just another one I found online because this was not available to me recently, so I have this as well. It's the same stuff. And then what you're going to use to seal it is a Permatex gasket maker, and that is oil resistant. I just went with this just because I had some already available to me when I would put it together for the first time. So I'm just keeping it consistent, given that it went pretty well and it held up pretty well. So that's what I'm going to use to put that together. This part is pretty straightforward. The first time I did it, I used the gasket maker, but I'm just going to use hot glue. I'm just going to do the same thing. Just going to put a couple dabs on each corner. You probably can't see that very well, but I'm just putting a dab on the corners. Maybe a little extra in the center, doesn't matter. Taking this, just kind of pressing it in. And the reason I glue it in is because that's how it came when I pulled it out. It was kind of more of like a general adhesive all around the inside, so probably more like a spray adhesive. And I don't have anything like that, so I just use hot glue or the Permatex, but that's how it's going to come out. And once you get your squares done, you can kind of see the general shape. Actually, I'll point out this one. You can see the general shape, how that goes in there, just like that. I know it looks like it's supposed to fit in there, but it's not supposed to. Where those little, where these are at in here. It looks like it's supposed to fit, but it's just supposed to sit on top. Because obviously it doesn't fit going this way. So just drop all in. And you could probably glue it in there. I don't think I did last time. I think I just let them sit like that, because the next step is actually putting all the charcoal into the box and then reassembling it. And I'll show you how to do that. All right, I'm just gonna fill this with charcoal. And I have the other one sitting next to it so that I fill them evenly. Well, hopefully I'll have enough. Darn, it looks like I do not have enough. That's okay. I'll probably reuse some of the old stuff. But if you recall from the previous part of the video, this bracket was right about up to here. So we'll need to put a little bit more. And I'm going to cheat and reuse some of the old stuff because it's not that much. So the next thing I'm going to do, just because I am just a little short on the charcoal that I need, I'm going to take some of the old charcoal. This is all saturated with fuel vapors and such from the first time I did this. But charcoal acts as a absorbent. It's very porous, and what it does is that it absorbs fuel vapors and sometimes even a little bit of fuel if you have an issue in the fuel tank. But it's supposed to absorb fuel vapors, and what it does is it locks it in, but at some point it's going to become too saturated to be able to absorb all those fumes, and thus causing like in my case, my truck gets really smelly after a couple months. So what you can do is you can burn the fuel out of the charcoal and it'll smell completely fine. I'm gonna do it in kind of a not a very professional way, so I'm sure there's other ways you can do this professionally with better tools, but we're just going to do with what I have in the garage. You can put this in the oven, but I don't want my oven smelling like fuel vapors. By the way, this thing is old. It's got something in it, so the way I'm using this propane torch is completely wrong. You're supposed to hold it away and just kind of bake it. Don't want to set it too much on fire, but because this thing is kind of messed up, I just want to get it done. So I got that all baked, put it back in the container. We're gonna take a smell. And it smells like nothing, which is really good because this was heavily saturated with fuel and you could smell it from about a couple feet away. That's how bad it was. All right, so now that I got the charcoal in, I'm gonna go ahead and put this bracket in. This is what's gonna hold the charcoal in place. I got about that much from the top here filled with charcoal. You don't need it completely full, otherwise it won't close. You're gonna take this, put it back on. It's gonna be a bit of a pain because the way this is made, I'm not too sure how they put it on, but the way I got it off, as I showed earlier, is bending it. So I'm just gonna force it back on. Kind of work it. Maybe not. What I can also do is I can move. There's little cutouts right there, so this piece of metal right here and this piece of metal right here can technically bend a bit. So I'm going to modify it with a screwdriver. All right, I finally got it in. I embarrassingly had to get pretty medieval with it. So what I essentially did is, this is the way it looks like when it comes out, is I didn't have this in here, but I put this in the vise, flattened it out, and then put half of it in the vise, bent it a little bit so it's getting spring tension going, kind of like a drawing of a bird with its wings going like that. I'll go ahead and do it right now. I'll show you. But yeah, as you can see, that's holding that in there, so I can hold this like that, and that's done. Where's the other one? Here it is. First thing I do, and I'm sure there's plenty of other tools and things you can do to do this the right way, but I'm just going to do it with what I have. It's worked before, it's going to work again. I don't want to put too much on there. As you can see, I'm trying to return it to that letter M shape. And I can actually do that physically. Over time, I can already feel it. It's getting brittle in this section from me doing this already twice. But that's pretty much all you need to do right there. And then I'm going to put this one in. We're going to put that. I have to fill this up a little bit more, but then we're going to put the grate back on. We're going to put that on, and we'll be all done. We got these assembled. This is what the finished product looks like. Everything is all nice and sealed. The reason why I believe that my EVAP canisters are filling up with fumes and getting all smelly is for two reasons. This is a purge solenoid, and I've tested it and it works. I was afraid that it was stuck closed. And if this is stuck closed, the fumes that gather in these canisters are going to accumulate and have nowhere to go. And that was my first thought when I saw this, but I've tested it and this works. The other thing is that there are vent valves on each of my gas tanks. And of course I have two because I have a older truck. So that's the next thing I'm going to check and see if that is faulty. I know if those are stuck open, fumes are always going to be coming out of that and filling these two up. The other reason, or actually there will be a third reason, this can work, but I need to make sure that the truck is actually actuating it. So I have to find the plug for this and use a multimeter to check that it's got good voltage and actually doing what it's supposed to do. Otherwise, that's what I found to be the only culprits. So I've saved a lot of money by doing this job myself. When I try to go online to find products for this truck, they had all sorts of different vents that you put additional hoses on, and I think you could probably block those off and get away with it. However, those are also, I think, more expensive than the direct replacement for this. So all I did was just remove the charcoal and put some new charcoal in. You can also bake it, or you can set it on fire and that extracts the fumes. But I just like to play it safe and just get new charcoal. It probably costs about $30 to $40 in material for the charcoal. It costs another $10 for the gasket maker. And I think the pads that I used at the bottom, well, in the video is like upside down, so it was technically at the bottom, but those I believe were a little pricey just because they were the only size in which I could cut out a proper piece from. But other than that, it was fairly inexpensive project, and hopefully these won't saturate as fast if I address those other issues that I explained with the vent valve and the ensuring that this purge solenoid is working correctly.